Welcome back everyone. This lovely trek is off on its holidays, going abroad for a triathlon training camp. So the owners asked me to give it a full service before it goes. Actually in pretty good condition to be fair. I know the back wheel is buckled, we've got a Shimano crank recall to be done, the chain's worn out. Apart from that, it's in pretty good shape to be fair. So let's get her in the stand and see what else we can find. Like I say, it's not actually in too bad a condition. Brakes are pretty reasonable. Cable feels great on this one. Back brake again feels really good. Cable feels nice. No stickiness in there. Front caliper's fairly well balanced. A lot of adjustment on the barrel adjuster if we need it. Slightly off centre, but we can sort that easy enough. Chain is at its limit now. We're on, that's on about 0.8. Just the right time to change the chain. We'll give this cassette a clean. This will take a crankset as part of the Shimano worldwide recall for delaminating the Holotech cranks. So remove this and inspect that. Bit of a buckle on this carbon wheel, sort that out, no problem. A good clean and polish. He's also asked me to look at the tower of indecision, so we're going to chop off this part of the steerer fork. Had a bike fit and this is its final position, so we don't need the top spacer. So he's asked me to remove that and chop the fork, which is no problem on this one. There's no quick link on this chain, so I'm going to have to just split it with this chain tool. It's in pretty poor condition, it's very corroded, so not looking very nice at all. You get a good idea of the bottom bracket condition now as well, now that the chain is off. This feels really good. No noises. Let's remove this crank. Shimano crank's dead easy, 2 5mm bolts. Just unloosen these off. Don't need to remove them, just loosen them off. I'm jealous. I wish I was going somewhere tropical. 2 degrees at the moment in my workshop. Right, that's loose. Should be a safety catch in here and you need to flick that up. Part of this tool has a little hook for that. Just remove the plastic preload nut then. So, this crank should just pull off now. Just wobble it off. Easy. Plenty of grease on there, looks good. And just pull the crank off. Super easy. I've not seen this bike before, but it looks like it's been fairly well maintained previously. And got a little bit of plastic still on its frame protector. Just open up your brake quick releases before you drop the wheel out. It just gives it a couple more millimeters clearance for the tyre. Unscrew this. Yep. Headset feels really good on this, but we're going to take it out anyway because we need to trim this fork down later. That noise is just the cables. As per usual, I'm just going to take this bottle cage off to give you a bit better access to clean the frame with, polish it. And that's pretty much all we're going to be taking off on this one, to be fair. There's no need to remove the derailleurs. I did try the gears before I started stripping it, and they're actually working really well. So we can lubricate them while they're on the bike. And we'll also lubricate these brake pivot points as well. Ultegra rim brakes are really nice, one of my favourite brakes. Super easy to adjust and set up and just very high quality. Bit of a mark on the frame here that the customer picked up before we brought it in, which is annoying. Apart from that, it looks in really good condition. So I think the first thing we'll do is just chop this fork down. So I'll leave the stem clamped on so we can mark it up properly. Just take this top cap out. And that's what comes off. So this piece of the fork, it's an aluminium steerer, so it's easy. So we're going to get a pick and we're going to mark this for the top of the fork. Then we're going to cut 3mm below that. So you've got a choice here. You can either remove the cable on this caliper, or can we remove the whole caliper from the fork. I'm going to remove the caliper because quite often you'll find this bolt seized up inside here anyway, so it's good practice on the surface to get into here and get it out. All the rubbish from the wheel just flicks up and just goes in here and just corrodes it absolutely solid. Some of these are extremely challenging to get out. This one's no problem at all. You can see all the rubbish coming out there. So when you put it back in, get loads of grease on this bolt. Just refit it to the brake now so you don't lose it. We can get this fork out. Just loosen these stem bolts off. This is easy because it's not an internally routed cable. If it was a hydraulic disc brake and the hose is routed through the fork, then it makes this job a little bit more challenging because you'd have to remove the hose from the caliper or the lever and fit new olives, etc., and bleed it through. It's a lot more work for a simple job. Loads of grease in this. Brilliant condition. If you're leaving it for any length of time with no fork, just use a dummy fork to support the handlebars. This is not too bad on this one because there's no real weight on it. And there's no hydraulic hoses. The cables will quite happily hang this off, but If you've got one, use it. So you can see the mark that I put on the fork there, so we're going to cut just slightly below that mark. Ideally you want to use one of these clamps that you can clamp the stirrer into the vise properly. And then look at your mark here, and then look at your cut mark here. That's a little bit short. Make sure you get this right. This is definitely a case of measure 3 times, cut once. You definitely can't put this back on. So we've got a star-fangled nut here. We're not going to cut that star nut. We can press that back down again after we've cut it. I know you can use tube cutters, etc., but to be honest, I've never found one of good enough quality that I can rely on. So let's just cut it with a hacksaw. Pink. You can probably do with a new blade on that. I use one of these deburring tools on this. It's great. It's got an inside and an outside edge. It just takes the burr off there. Gives it a nice edge on there, and then same on the inside. We need to knock this star nut down first before we can get in there. Use a star nut setter in this to screw that in there. Keeps it nice and straight that way. So we've got to hit it down to there. Okay, so that's done there. So we just unscrew this, and we can deburr the inside of the fork again. That's that trimmed. I'm gonna clean the base of this fork. Just gonna add some grease to the crown. Mobile XHP 222 grease, very nice. You may wonder why you're putting grease on the fork where the bearings are sealed bearings. It's really to prevent any sort of corrosion to the bearing itself and getting seized into either the fork or the frame cup. That's the only reason. Just drop this out now. Like I say, these bearings are in brilliant condition. Perfect, look at that. Almost brand new. Just clean them up anyway and clean the cups. But it's really in very nice condition inside here. And again, we're just going to add grease to this bearing. You can't get in, it's a sealed bearing. All these videos you see where people are taking them apart and putting grease in, it's a load of rubbish. Just don't waste your time, just put new bearings in. Unless you've got really expensive ceramic bearings and you're rigidly following the sort of maintenance program of stripping them and cleaning them before there's an issue, then fair play. But for a normal bearing like this, honestly, it's just total waste of time. Just fit new bearings, they're not expensive. This top bearing is immaculate, doesn't need anything. Just refit this. And that's in. Just drop this top cap up, it's got an O-ring in it so it will hold it all in place. Get your logos lined up to wherever you choose. So the customer had the red one at the top, so that's where we're going to replace it to. And just drop the stem on and hope you cut it right. Looking good. Perfect. I'll show you a bit closer. So just take this out now, you can see what you've got. So this is what you need, around about a 3mm gap here. It's critical that the steerer is above this bolt. So if this steerer has been cut too short and it's below this bolt or even level with it, it's too short, take one of these spaces out. This is perfect as it is. So when you're setting the tension, rock your bars side to side like this. Make sure these are sort of semi-tight. What you don't want is this splayed open, so the rocking you're getting is the stem rocking on the fork. You don't want that. So just nip them up so they're almost tight but not tight. That's fine there. And then we're just turning this around. Let's get your logo lined up. I think that's the B. And then you're just winding this gently down, constantly checking your headset. There's no play in that headset whatsoever now, and you can see how tight I've done that. It's literally there. There's no play. That's tight enough. Take that out. Don't touch it again. Then we're tightening these up. We're not going to tighten them fully yet because we've not got the wheel in to do the alignment. So what I do in that situation is I put this around the bar on the stem just to remind myself, really, to be fair, that these are not tight yet. Believe me, I've lost sleep at night sending bikes out. I'm wondering if I've checked these bolts are tight. I always have, but it's one of them things that it keeps you awake at night sometimes. Okay, so we can just clean this up now and refit that brake. Using a different grease for that, just this brush on finish line. Just cleaning this excess grease off here. We've still got the warning stickers here. I'd like to take these off, but what you tend to find is the paint's faded around it, and you get a different colour when you take them off. So this bike's sort of 15 years old now, so it's almost certainly going to be faded. So we're going to leave that one where it is, unfortunately. This is going to look brand new, this bike, I swear. I do like Treks. Super easy to work on, as you can see. They don't have the best reputation between some people, but I love them. Just going to drop a little bit of lube in this brake on the pivots. Try not to get it all over your pads, but And on the quick releases, we'll just get a bit in here. And work that around. Squeeze this in. Feels really positive, this caliper, very nice. Loads of life left on these pads. Yeah, we're just going to put some grease on here, put loads on here, trust me. Put that through the fork and reconnect. Again, we can't centre this brake yet until we've put the wheel back in, but I think get it somewhere close at the front, that's about there. We'll do the final alignment later. And more grease straight off. Also, what I'm going to do while the bike's got no chain, etc., and the wheels right, I'm going to inspect this gear cable. Those Ultegra cables, or Ultegra levers, have got a nasty habit of snapping the cable. So you don't want that. Now you should be able to see the condition of the gear cable quite nicely. So if we can flick this through now, you can see the cable in there. So any frayed cable in here is obviously a big problem. Let's have a really good look in there, see if you can see any damage to that cable. This one looks really good. I think the cables are pretty new looking at the rest of them. Yeah, I don't see any issues there, that's nice. Just a small squirt of lube while we're in there, finish line 2 and 1, degreaser and lubricant, so just a drop. There's not siege or anything in this one, but that's fine. Just fold this back and then check the operation of the gear lever. And just check the gear lever on this one. That sounds really good. Very positive. Good clicks. So I'm just going to check the front lever for the same issue and lubricate that. Front ones don't tend to snap because they don't do anywhere near as many cycles as the rear derailleur. So I'm just going to lubricate these derailleurs before I clean the frame. I'll just use TF2 lube on these, it's really good stuff. Sort of anti-corrosion and a nice light oil, same as GT85 basically, but I find it just a tiny bit thicker. Quite nice. And just work the derailleur to distribute that lubrication. Really nice positive action on these as well. Same on the rear derailleur, just work it open. While you've got access to it, you can move all the pivots like this and get some spray in there. Some people says it does nothing, but I think it's just best practice really. It certainly doesn't do any harm. And you can just work that through nicely now. It's got a different colour on this cable, it's Teflon, has worn off inside the housing itself. We can pull that through and inspect it. It's actually in really good condition. Pull your derailleur up and you'll get hook that back in, that's done. Just check the condition of the frame while it's here as well, just carbon obviously, so just press this in. Any bad noises or any stupid flexy bits, then you've got issues, but unsurprising, this one's perfect. Just going to lubricate this back brake up and just cover the pads on this one and then just get it in all the pivots. There's quite a few of them. Quick release as well, there's one here, the quick release down here, and there's a spring down the back. Just work it in. Very nice positive action. If you're getting a bit sticky or whatever, you're going to need to go a bit deeper and strip them down, but I tend to find to avoid stripping these down if you can, because they're a bit of a nightmare to get back together. If you get this spring tension just even slightly wrong, they're either way too loose or way too tight. So it's very much a case on this one of just keep it clean and lubricated. Okay, that's good. Now we're just going to clean the frame. I'm just going to whip this cassette off and put that in the ultrasonic while we clean the frame. Just clean her up now. That'll do its thing for a minute. And right. That's the basic clean, so we're just going to go over the finish line, show you in polish now. Beautiful. Now, considering this bike's 10 years old now, it's in absolutely fabulous condition, it really is. Look at it, it's almost brand new. Incredible. So one thing I've noticed while I'm going over the cleaning, there's a part missing from the front derailleurs. There should be a plastic plate in here called a skid guard. They nearly always fell off on these, so just replace that one. So use the skid plates. I have a selection here for Shimano front derailleurs. Let's get the right one. So this is all it is, small piece of plastic basically, it just clips into the back. A bit fiddly, but they're not too bad when the chain sets off. Just hook the front one in, then that, and then flex this backwards. And it'll go in. And that's it, it's fitted. So what it does is just takes wear off the chain, off the derailleur plate here. This takes the wear instead. So they are a wear part, and eventually they'll just fall out and end up never being replaced. What we need to do now is do the chain set inspection for the recoil, true the back wheel, put the cassette back on, put the wheels back on, fit the new chain, job done. So not too much work. So on the crank recoil inspection, you need to take it to an authorised Shimano dealer to get this done properly, which I am. So it's basically a case of stripping down the cranks and inspecting for any signs of delamination on them. Check the production code on your crank. It falls within the range of KF to RF. Then you're within the recoil, so you need to take it to a Shimano dealer so they can do this inspection for you. It's free of charge. Use a nylon brush just to get it cleaned up. You're not supposed to put these in the ultrasonics for the recoil. Give it a good clean. Yeah, so basically, so I'm just going to blow this out with compressed air now to get it nice and clean. That's basically it. So then it's just a case of going through a check sheet that Shimano give you to check for any signs of delamination around these areas and down the sides of the cranks. And so you can't do it yourself. I mean, you can have a look yourself, but you can't then claim to Shimano that you need a new crank. It has to go to a Shimano authorised dealer to have this inspection done. So I'll just do the inspection now and then I'll reassemble. Guess who forgot to press record? Look how shiny they are. Beautiful. So these just need to go back on the bike now. So we're just going to add a little bit of finish line grease onto the bottom bracket axle. Insert that through there. No, don't put too much on because it just scrapes it all off on the seals anyway. Left hand crank back on. Put your preload cap back in. Don't go very tight with this. It's literally pretty much hand tight just to take any sort of side to side play out the bottom bracket shell. So you'll see that it's literally, you know, it's hand tight, that's it. And don't go crazy, it's only plastic. Take that out, and then we're just going to tighten these bolts up. So make sure you tighten these bolts equally, sort of side by side, one side at a time, so to speak. Just tighten them up gently. And then you need to torque these to 12 to 14 Newton meters if you've got a torque wrench. Just wipe off any grease, refit the bolt cage. A little bit of grease on these bolts always helps. They do tend to get seized in these riv nuts quite a lot. So just a drop of grease on those is always beneficial for them. Okay, so I switched my microphone back on now. Sorry about that. Just going to clean this wheel up. There's really no issues. We've got a tiny buckle which we'll sort out. Cassette's been cleaned. Bearings are fantastic. Really nice wheels to be fair. So I'll just give it a good clean. I've just been speaking to the customer. I think we're going to put a wax chain on this bike because the drivetrain's spotlessly clean. And he's going away somewhere nice and hot and sunny, so there's no risk of any rain or anything. So I think for a triathlon training camp, I think that could work very nicely for him. Do like wax chains. The drivetrain just absolutely immaculate. After sort of 200 or 300 miles, you'd never know it looks brand new. It's fantastic. But there's a lot of maintenance. A lot of maintenance, sort of re-waxing. Normally I'll get customers to buy 2 or 3 chains that are waxed, and they sort of swap between the 2 or 3 chains. And then when they need re-waxing, they can either do it themselves or bring them back to me and I'll do them all at the same time. It doesn't take long. Once you've got the hard work on waxing is the prep of the new chain. Really, you've got to get it stripped absolutely spotless before you do anything, and then obviously wax it and just maintain the cleanliness really. But they're fantastic, honestly. You see a bike after 300 miles, it's immaculate. It's just a bit of dried candle wax type thing that you just brush off. Super quiet, super smooth. Save your power. It's just a win-win if you can put up with the maintenance of it. This cassette's been cleaned, and obviously the chain set is spotlessly clean as well. They're just going to put the cassette on. There's already some grease on this cassette body, so not that it makes a huge difference, but let's go. Feels a little bit sticky in this free hub. Let's see how it goes. I'm just going to true this wheel now. It's not massively out, it's just one spot on this coming over this way. Pretty damn good now. Let's go. Okay, we're on the home straight now. Let's put this back wheel in, get a chain on, put pedals on, front wheel on, set the handlebar alignment, check the gears. Gears should be fine because we haven't touched the cables. I'll say they were working lovely before. A bit tighter than that. A little bit tighter than that. Good. Fairly quiet free hub this one. Very tame in the grand scheme of free hubs. Right, let's get this, just wait for confirmation from the customer to see if he wants to put a wax chain on. So let's put the front wheel on while we're waiting. I've just given the front wheel a quick wipe down, so looking a bit better. Yeah, it's nice and straight, this one is. It's on. Now we can check the alignment of this brake, because that's rubbing. All we need to do with that is just loosen this bolt off on the back. Centre the brake. And tighten it back up. A little bit more. Too much. Just right. Nice. And just tighten this bolt back. Make sure you don't spin the caliper when you tighten it down. That's good. Okay, that's nice. Now we're just going to check the alignment of this handlebar stem. Take this off now because we know we're doing it. I can use my gimmick laser. I know everybody hates it, but I like it. Just clip that on. Make sure you're centered on the middle of the bar, and it will shine a laser onto your tire. Look at that. Of course, I can dip by eye before you'll stop. If you got a gadget, why not use it? Pretty good to me. Going to total stem. 5.2 is what they're requesting, but we're going to get 5.5. 99% of them are 6 Newton meters. It's an aluminium steerer, so we can live with 5.5. Just tighten this until it clicks. Done. These are great, these are. Check these while we're here. Take my super duper gadget off. You love it, really, I know you do. The sticker's really bugging me. I'm so tempted to take it off, but I've done it before and you end up with such an obvious square that you regret it in the end. But I'm going to leave it, I'm going to leave it. Fight the edge. Plenty of grease on your pedal threads. Definitely don't want these seasoning or cross threading like that. There you go. Got pedal washers on these as well. We'll tighten these down when it's on the ground. It's a bit easier than in the stand. Tell you every time, but left-hand pedal's got a left-hand thread, so screws in the wrong way to what you'd think. Again, we'll tighten that when it's on the ground. It's just too difficult like this at the moment. Another quick one, we're just going to put a spray of this on the pedals. It just helps the release of the cleat. It's just a Teflon spray basically. Just let it dry into a dry film. Any points where the cleats are going to touch it, just spray it there. A slightly thicker oil spray on the actual spring bodies itself. These are in really good condition, stainless. That's them done. We are going with a wax chain. This is one that I've done earlier. I tried to wax several at a time to save up the setup. So this is what it looks like out of the wax. Solid. So we just need to break this in on the bike. You can make up a little jig with jockey wheels that breaks the hard wax off for you. If anyone's got a diagram for that or drawing, let me know, because I could do with making one up. Just going to size this chain. So with the chains, I have 2 level pins here. I hang the old and new chain on. And we just drop down to the bottom. And you can see the difference in length really. This is the old one, this is obviously the new one. They should be there. So we're taking off 3 complete links. You can see how stiff these chains are like this. They do free up pretty quickly. Okay, so just going to fit the chain. Make sure you get the writing on the outside. Shimano chains are sided. Good thing when they're being waxed is you can literally just thread it through like that and grab hold of the end. I've just cleaned the jockey wheels off camera as well, so they're nice and clean. Obviously the cassette's been through the ultrasonic and the chain rings have been cleaned as part of the inspection. So the drivetrain is spotless. Go through the rear mech. I will feel very, very stiff at the moment, but once it gets going, it's very nice. Make sure there's no build-up of wax around these pins. It just needs to go in as a normal split link. So I'm using Enigma chain wax. Pretty good results for this, to be fair. I'll put a link below. And just fit your quick link, same as ever. Shimano, so tight. There we go. We are waxed. So I'm just going to bed this in for a bit. It's going to feel like it's not behaving, but it will settle itself down. It's not stiff link, that's wax. Up to a bigger chain ring. It's fine, you've got a saggy chain there until it beds itself in. So let's go. So it will take sort of 4 or 5 miles to bed itself in properly, but that's running pretty well now. It's rubbing on this front mech quite badly. I need a little bit more on the limit screw and a bit more cable tension. Half a turn on there. And on this bike, the front railing cable's on the drive side because they're crossing over underneath, so just going to give that a few turns on there. It's not C's. Normally these are C's. I've checked them both. They're both nice and free, so that should quieten itself down a bit now. Okay, so it's shifting lovely now. I'll say it will take 2 or 3 miles for everything to just fully bed itself in with the wax once it's done. I mean, that's shifting lovely. Ever so slightly slow going down. I'm going to get a quarter turn in. Beautiful. You'll see dry bits of wax on here now. This will all flake off eventually after a few miles, but that's all you're ever going to get now is a bit of wax. Let's just go through these rear gears because they're running so nice. Nice. Just little bits of wax that will flake off your chain you pick up on your chainstay and blow off, basically. Right, that's pretty much done. Running beautifully. So all done and off to the sunshine. So I hope the customer enjoys that. We could do with some here. It's absolutely freezing, so never mind. Bike's got to be fixed, and that's what I'm here for. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I don't like asking, but it really makes a massive difference. So thank you very much.